In this world, lazy people gained levels just by lying down. He knows it sounds absurd. The residents could increase their cultivation power just by eating sweets and resting. Laziness was more valuable than hard work. That's why some people, chosen to be lazy, spent the whole day playing games. They didn't hunt dragons or demons there. At least not in real life. Only in games. Soon, there would be a laziness contest to decide who was the laziest of them all. However, the protagonist was a powerful captain of an interstellar fleet. He died in battle and ended up in this world of lazy people. As expected, he stood out even more in this new world. The story begins with him waking up in someone else's useless body. As soon as he opened his eyes, he realized he had been teleported to this new world. When he tried to use his cultivation powers, he noticed the body was very weak. At that moment, a maid appeared, saying he had important tasks to do. Actually, they were the memories of the body's former owner surfacing in his mind. He realized that the former owner just enjoyed life and had fun. He couldn't even cultivate because his maids wouldn't let him. Viewers will witness the biggest plot twist of the story and will certainly be surprised to understand why there are so many lazy people in this world. I had never seen a story like this before. No spoilers, but it's something that reminds me of that Pixar movie, WALL-E, mixed with The Promised Neverland. If you want me to start a series about this story full of chapters and deep lore, just leave a like and a comment. The maid said he didn't need to cultivate because he would grow stronger just by resting. The protagonist understood that, in this world, some people lived extremely lazy lives. Before, he was the captain of a spaceship powered by spiritual energy. Now, when he opened his eyes, he was in a very weak body. Most likely, the previous owner had just died. He raised his hands and asked for a doctor, as he wasn't feeling well at all. He realized he had been transported into the body of a teenager. When he saw his reflection in the water, he noticed that his appearance was completely different. Now, he was the eldest son of the Chuan Shui family and was under the care of strict maids. Well, not that strict, since they pampered him all the time. Their most important tasks were to eat, drink, and have fun. Unfortunately, the former owner's life ended during a mountain climb. That's why the hero ended up in this boy's body, who even had claw marks from a beast on his stomach. He crouched down and tried to use cultivation from his original world to heal himself. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough spiritual power and was very weak. The wood element had only 0% SP, which represented spiritual power. Without enough SP, he couldn't fully heal himself. That made him sad, calling himself a failure. Moments earlier, his intergalactic fleet had exploded in a battle against beings from another galaxy. That's why he probably died and ended up in this completely different world. Now, he needed to recover his SP. He wanted to hurry because his comrades were still fighting in space. At that moment, a creature appeared at the top of the mountain. It looked cute, but was crushed by a much bigger monster. This was the demon that hunted Chum, the boy whose body the hero now inhabited. When he saw it, the young master was thrilled. Meanwhile, Chum was fishing a fish to recover 1000 SP. He was happy because it would give him a lot of energy. While he was eating, the giant demon charged at him, trying to finish him off. The boy just wanted to eat his fish in peace. But since he was skilled, he managed to defend himself using the fish's spine. The demon was surprised, because just seconds before, the boy had been very weak. Now, he was blocking the creature's axe, using only a fish carcass. The blow was so strong that it sent the demon flying. To escape, it turned into a small demon and ran off. Before disappearing, it said it would warn the demons from another world. The hero figured that this monster was probably the one that had killed the original owner of Chum's body. He imagines his maids are waiting for him at the end of the mountain. Since he defeated a monster and ate that fish, he recovered a bit of his power. However, to fully recover his energy, he would have to eat many fish, because there was still a long way to go. He would need to eat a large amount of fish and defeat an entire army of demons. The scene shifts to one of his maids commenting that the young master had probably already been eaten by the demon boss. They were celebrating the fact that the master had been eliminated and said they would party with their boss. Two other maids were laughing a lot. They were at a distance, recording everything with their phone. They filmed the exact moment when the young master was attacked. Just like him, other lazy boys were on the mountain being attacked by demons. The phone captured the exact scene of the hero's supposed death. They laughed at him, begging the monster for mercy. At that moment, someone appeared asking if they weren't going to help someone in danger. They were unsure about who that man was. It was Chum, with an adult appearance, radiating power and masculinity. At that moment, it was confusing to understand why the maids were celebrating his death. Then, it was finally revealed that the demons had defeated all the other races in the world and confined them in a closed universe. It was a fictional world, and the people inside it didn't know any of this. The demons fed on humans and other races. However, to make the meat tastier, it couldn't contain much spiritual power or be athletic. They preferred the lazy ones, as their meat was juicier and they were usually chubby. That's why they chose certain people and sent demonic maids to cultivate that meat. Basically, the maids were sent to make those people as lazy as possible. That way, the meat would become more delicious. The lazier a person was, the higher their level of idleness, a pretty word for useless. The maids of the Chuan Shui family were demons, serving other higher-ranking demons. They placed the hero on the mountain to be devoured by that creature. If that already seems surprising, there's still much more to happen in this crazy story. Now that he was back and confused, his maids found it strange and gave him food to help him recover. They wondered if he had unleashed his dragon lineage, which would explain his escape. One of the maids asked if he wanted to play on the mountain again the next day. He replied that there were monsters on the mountain and he had almost died. The other maids lamented, saying the boss would punish them because the boy didn't become food. The maid insisted there were no monsters on the mountain and that he must have been hallucinating. Sarcastically, Shui asked if they were mocking him. She held the young master's face and said he must have a cold and be seeing things, while the other two commented that she was being very affectionate with him. They kept suspecting that he had activated his dragon powers and that's why his appearance had changed. The dark-haired girl suggested it was better to let him recover for a few days before serving him again as a banquet to the boss. They were worried, because if they didn't deliver the young master as food, they'd be punished. The blonde took the blame, saying she always took the young master to play, which ended up strengthening his body. In truth, they weren't good maids, since the goal was to make him lazy and not let him have fun. On the news, there was a report about a group of young people who disappeared after an avalanche in the mountains. Nasseron saw it on television and wondered why people weren't reporting the appearance of the mountain. He imagined that the government system of that world was trying to hide the existence of such creatures. That could be a big secret, so he decided not to tell anyone for now. All he wanted now was to cultivate, to recover his powers, and return to his original world. While doing his cultivation poses, the blonde watched him from afar. She had the idea to place a bar of soap so he would slip, hit his head on the floor, and die. That way, they'd fool the boy's family into thinking he died in a simple accident. It's worth noting that people in that world didn't know about the existence of demons, or that they devoured people. Only the maids, who were also demons, had that knowledge. Other people, including the protagonist's family, didn't know a thing. The blonde claimed she was very smart for thinking of that, and decided to execute her plan right away. She threw the soap under the young master's feet. That way, Chum ended up slipping. He realized that if he fell hard on the ground, he could destroy the house, as he was very powerful. So he decided to cast magic on his own feet to boost himself and leap through the window. He did exactly that, jumping out of the bathroom, but the blonde was down there. He ended up crashing into her and knocking her down. Looking down, he saw that she was smashed on the ground. The young master was tense, realizing he had caused the elimination of his maid, who had turned into paper. Even weakened, he was still very powerful compared to the people of that world. So he decided to use the SCP he had received earlier to try and resurrect the girl. He reallocated points in the youth system and began using his resurrection magic. However, by using all the power he had gathered, he returned to his childlike appearance. He sighed, a bit sad, because he didn't want to look like a kid. But all of that was necessary to spend his powers resurrecting his maid. The blonde's soul returned to her body, and she came back to life thanks to the hero's powers. He tried to wake the girl, asking if she was okay. Little did he know that this girl wanted to eliminate him. As she still hadn't woken up, he placed her on his shoulder and took her back to the mansion. He had received a package from someone else via teleportation. The maids asked if the blonde had managed to carry out the plan to eliminate the young master. They commented that it wasn't worth opening the box, as he should already be dead. However, out of curiosity, when they opened the box, they realized it had a poisoned cake he had received as a gift. They wondered if that cake was sent by his current fiancée. The protagonist's fiancée was completely insane. The girl was totally disconnected from reality. Since the maid's goal was to eliminate the young master, they cast more poison magic to intensify the cake. What if the blonde hadn't managed to eliminate him, right? The poor hero didn't know about any of these crazy plans and was worried about the blonde. When they realized he was still alive, they called him to eat the cake he had received. The girl said it was sent by his fiancée from the Shelley family. If he didn't eat it, it would mean he wanted to cancel the engagement. He ended up accepting the cake, and the pink-haired girl commented that love is blind and can kill. Looking at the cake, he realized it was poisoned with substances harmful to his health. Even so, by eating the cake, he would gain SP. So he ate it all. That way, he began to recover part of his spiritual power. Because he ate the cake and had a powerful body, he not only gained SP but also resistance to poison. Even if the SP was small, his appearance became slightly more imposing. The pink girl opened the door to see if he was still alive. There was the hero asking for more cake, leaving her in shock. She didn't understand anything, because the young master was super powerful. She ran out, asking him to wait a moment. She didn't understand why he had survived, even with the extra dose of poison. So she added even more poison. She ran back with the cake, saying his dragon power was totally overpowered. He ate everything again and asked for more cake. The pink girl ran to get more. He kept eating and asked why it was taking so long to bring more. That way, he ended up eating the last piece of the cake. She commented that she would add her wing to the cake because her demon wing was very poisonous. If he hadn't died from the cake before, now it would work, as she had used her entire wing. He ate it, and the girl was shocked. Her surprise was so great that she ended up losing her life. He asked what had happened, but in reality, she was exhausted from running so much. Besides, she had ripped off her own wing. He comments that she's so silly for dying of exhaustion after using all her energy. Once again, he uses the SP he had earned to restore the maid's energy. He places her next to the blonde girl so they can recover together. The brunette runs off to see what the young master was doing. She wonders why the other two still haven't managed to eliminate him. She notices that both of them were asleep. She's shocked to see that the young master looked healthier than ever. When the brunette realizes the boy has returned to a childlike appearance, she feels a bad omen. She asks why he looks like a child. She thinks he must have used all his dragon energy to get rid of the girls. She starts imagining some dirty things, if you know what I mean. She imagines he used all the dragon's energy to fool around with them. Blushing, she asks why the young master didn't invite her too. Playfully, the brunette asks why he didn't call her to join the fun. She throws the plate on the ground and runs toward the young master. But he jumps, dodges her, and says it's not what she's thinking. The girl hits her head on the bed. So, the three of them lie down on the bed to recover. He had already figured out they were trying to eliminate him. He just needed to find out why they wanted to do it. He laments having spent all the SCP he'd gathered during the day. Since he spent many years traveling with his fleet through space, it had been a long time since he'd seen any women. Now that he was beside 3 beautiful women, the shameless guy started finding all of them really pretty. He even mentions that he missed being near women, since there were only men in his fleet. So, the shameless guy lies down on the bed and enjoys the company of his dear and beautiful maids. The next day, his fiancée shows up at his house. The hero's father comments that he wasn't expecting the visit. Just by looking at her, it's clear the hero's girlfriend is very pretty. In fact, she's quite angry, saying it's hard to find a level 8 slacker who's also a dragon. She's a 9-tailed fox and asks why her fiancé didn't come out to receive her. The hero's father explains that his son is very distracted and doesn't care about those things. Then, he points to the protagonist's room and asks why he didn't come out to receive his fiancée. The shameless hero was cultivating on top of the bed with his maids. The boy's father is already irritated, asking what the hell his son is doing. So, he goes outside and makes up an excuse, asking the fiancée to have some tea first. She came very irritated, saying she had something important to tell Chum's family. The reason for her visit was that she wanted to break off the engagement with the protagonist. Chun Ling, the 9-tailed fox, belonged to the 5th highest ranked family in terms of laziness. Her parents wanted her to marry someone of a high level. But Chum didn't have such a high level, because he wasn't very lazy. The protagonist's father begs her not to end the engagement with his son. She tells the boy's father that if he wants to keep the engagement, Chum needs to improve in the laziness department. That's a fancy word for slacking off. As she was getting ready to leave after delivering the news, she hears a strange noise coming from the room. The noise came from the maids, who were making squeals that suggested something else. Junling thinks her fiancé is doing this to get her attention and is humiliating himself for her. The father decides to peek into the room to see what his son is doing. He knows that it would be very important for his son to marry such a rich girl. At that moment, the hero jumps out of the room, totally surprising his fiancée. He believed that in this world, if he cultivated with powerful people, his SCP would increase, so he tries to seduce the girl. She blushes, completely surprised, since the former owner of that body was a complete coward. The father grabs a flower vase and asks why his son is acting so different, threatening to hit him with the vase. Now that the boy is strong, he grabs the vase but ends up spilling water on his fiancée. She gets completely soaked and asks why he dared to wed a goddess like her. The boy's father starts apologizing, as he didn't want his son to lose the engagement with such a rich woman. He asks his son to let the maids take care of the fiancée's clothes and promises to punish them himself. Chunling asks if Chum wants to cook a meal for her and gets curious. She ends up accepting, saying she'll let the maids take care of her clothes while he prepares something. When the father sees the table full of dishes, he's shocked. The girl didn't expect her fiancé to cook so well either. She says the smell is wonderful and the taste must be even better. The father comments that the young master made that food especially for her. The hero finishes preparing the salad. She tastes the juice he made. She starts screaming like crazy, just like characters from Food Wars. She comments that she's never eaten anything so delicious. Even so, she tries to resist, saying she'll only taste a little bit. The girl comments that he was spending too much time with the maids and not paying attention to her, which is why she wanted to cancel the engagement. In their society, the lazier you were, the more successful. However, the hero wasn't lazy at all. He starts removing the dishes from the table, and she asks him not to take them away because she was still eating. He replies that the food was meant for the maids. The girl asks why he likes pampering them so much. He explains that he bothered them during the night and wanted to please them. But when they reach the room, they find the girls passed out on the bed. The fiancé becomes extremely furious. She says that maids exist only to serve the lazy, not for that. She imagines what Chum did to them and starts freaking out, asking what those maids had that she didn't. Of course, 3 is better than 1. Cold and calculating, the hero asks if she didn't come there to ask for a divorce. He comments that now that they're separated, they're nothing more than strangers. And since he got along with his maids, that's none of her business. The blonde girl, eyes wide open, starts to listen to the entire conversation that Master Chum is having with his former fiancée. Then Chun-Ling says that Chum belonged to an extremely rare dragon race and that he had a lot of talent to become a level 9 slacker. However, over the past few weeks, he started having too much fun, and his laziness level dropped to level 4. The blonde girl feels a bit guilty while laughing, saying it was thanks to her since she kept calling Master Chum to go out. Chun-Ling continues saying that her family didn't want her to remain engaged to someone with such a low level, so she came there. But when she saw that he had many talents, she immediately regretted obeying her parents' orders. She says that after observing him for a while, she no longer wants to cancel the engagement, but instead wants to keep watching for a few more days. Chum tells her to just forget about someone like him. Even using the word scurvy, which is a disease, he meant that he was useless and that she could find someone much better. Chun-Ling says she understood everything, that the hero didn't want her anymore since he was having an affair with his 3 maids. Extremely furious, she storms over to confront them, saying she's going to destroy all 3 of them. The brunette, the blonde, and the pink-haired girl tried to protect the young master. They were afraid that the 9-tailed fox would destroy everything. They knew Chun-Ling had extremely destructive fire magic, which is why they were worried. The brunette tries to step in front, but realizes the young master had already put himself there. He stepped in front to protect his maids. The blonde couldn't believe it, since the young master she had tried to eliminate was risking his life to protect her. She even thought it would be a great opportunity for the young master to die. The brunette didn't understand anything, and the pink-haired maid was surprised by the scene. Obviously, it would be good for them if the young master died, as they wouldn't be punished by the demon boss. But there he was, the hero, putting his body in front and taking the full blast of Chun-Ling's fire. She asks if the young master is okay, since he took all the damage. He says it hurts a bit, but that he did it all to protect the girl. With tears in her eyes, she acknowledges that Chun-Ling's family fire magic is extremely powerful and must have caused a lot of damage. The girl goes to him to apologize, saying she didn't want to hurt him, but the blonde slaps her face and asks how she had the courage to hurt the dear young master. The maids were really starting to like the hero. Chun-Ling admits that she didn't expect Chum to go so far to protect his maids. She says goodbye to him, saying she'll never return to the village. The girls celebrate, saying that finally his fiancée went away, and also comment that the food was delicious. The hero's father asks Chun-Ling if she's really leaving, even with her clothes still wet. She says she'll never come back and hands a divorce letter to the hero's father. She was sad because she liked Chum. She was only ending the marriage due to pressure from her parents. She realizes that the cake jar she had sent was really eaten. She had done that as a prank, warning that she would get divorced. But upon seeing that he actually ate the cake, she felt bad. She had written a letter saying that if he ate the cake, it meant he loved her. She starts imagining that he really did like her. This makes the girl blush. The hero's father gets all sad because his son wouldn't be marrying into a rich family anymore. But just as he was finishing signing the engagement cancellation contract, the girl shows up burning everything. He asks what Chun-Ling is doing and sees the girl with her hands raised. She declares that the marriage contract between the Chun-Ling and Chuan-Chui families is now invalid. From now on, she will pursue Chum with her own hands. The narrator wonders if the audience would like to have a pursuer of that level. He says that later her story will be told, and that it even made him emotional. The scene changes to that demon the hero had defeated using a fish mirror. He tells Master Kelly that he was defeated by a draconic dude. The demon leader says he doesn't care, since he's very weak. He says the demon can't follow his companions because he was beaten by a mere dragon human. This shocks the demon, as he thought the master would help him. The leader says that even though Rokiel was the dumbest of the 4 demons, He shouldn't have lost to a slacker. Now he's going to issue a hunt order for all the maids, since they didn't complete the mission properly. From now on, the hero and his maids will be on the radar of more powerful demons. Since the hero was good in the kitchen, the girls put him in charge of making lunch. They had never eaten a sandwich and said it was wonderful. At that moment, someone starts shouting Chum's name. They go to the window and see Chun-Ling, begging for the young master to appear. He sighs and ties a rope to a basket. The blonde asks if she should go outside and deal with the girl. Chun-Ling was calling the hero to come play outside and he was supposed to keep her company. He lowers the basket down, leaving the girl surprised. She asks what that was, and inside was a sandwich. He says that if she behaves and goes home without complaining, she can eat the sandwich he made. The girl feels offended and asks if he thinks she can be bought with a simple snack. He wonders if maybe she wouldn't like the snack he had prepared. She also wants to leave a gift for him and places one of her tails inside the basket. Using all her charm, the girl winks and says that was her gift. The hero's heart definitely skipped a beat. He commented that she didn't seem as annoying as the day before. The brunette asks the blonde what they should do from now on. She wonders if they should stick to the plan or protect the hero. She then whispers in the blonde girl's ear, asking if they should continue with the plan to eliminate the young master. The blonde girl gets annoyed upon hearing that and tries to hit her companion with the sandwich. The hero catches the food midair and scolds the blonde girl for wasting it. She makes an excuse, saying the sandwich slipped from her hand. Her mind was confused, full of feelings. She didn't know whether to continue with the plan to eliminate the young master or protect him. The brunette states that the boy was nothing more than food. They had trained since childhood to raise humans for the demons. They knew the young master would be offered to some demon. The blonde girl starts getting alert messages on her phone, demanding she hand over the young master to be devoured. If she didn't, the punishments would be severe. She deletes the message, trying to ignore the content. She decides to pretend the demons would forget about her, but one message in particular leaves her terrified. It was a reward of 20,000 magic stones for whoever captured the boy's body. The maid from the Yeti family sees the ad and recognizes the boy. She realizes that capturing him would bring a very high reward. She knew where he lived, and wanted that reward for herself. She also knew that Chun-Ling, the fox girl, would be offered in marriage to the young master. She was also a demoness, and began planning how to capture the protagonist. All demons in this world received extra missions to earn points. She gets help from another demon to capture the young master from the Chungshi family. With an evil smile, she says it would be easy to stir up conflict between the families. She starts yelling for the young master, saying she had something urgent to tell him. When she finds him, she says his girlfriend was being stolen. He replies that he didn't understand. She repeats that his girlfriend was stolen. He asks which girlfriend. Then she remembers that the young master was worthless. She explains it was the fox girl offered in marriage to him. He recalls that the Qilin family had offered their eldest daughter in marriage. He asks if it was the girl with many tails, and the maid confirms. He comments that he didn't like her much because she spilled hot tea on him. The fox girl didn't want to marry him, but Chun instead. She states that Chun from the Chungsi family offered to marry her, which was theft. She says they should pack their things and go get revenge on the girl. All of this was just an excuse to get the 20,000 magic stones. The scene shifts to the blonde girl begging the young master to go out and play, but he didn't want to because he was afraid of being eliminated. She replies that if he stayed at home, he'd be killed. He asks who would kill him. It was because the demons were hunting them, but she couldn't say that. The brunette appears and says he'd be killed by any other maid from the slacker world. The blonde girl asks why her friend said that, and she replies it was better not to hide things anymore. Later, the girls finish telling the whole truth to the hero. They say they're basically maids who raise humans to serve as food for demons. They admit they left him in the mountains to be devoured by a monster. He asks if it's true that going out to play reduces idleness levels. He remembers all the times he lay in the grass playing on his phone. He spent hours messing with his phone and watching live streams. He ate unhealthy food. The hero doubts that would really help with cultivation. The maids say it was extremely beneficial for him. The boy kept watching silly videos on his phone. There were videos about cultivation and how to become stronger and fly on swords. He didn't really believe it, but watched them anyway. His phone had a dragon ear case, just like his own. There were also idol influencers. These usually had the highest levels. They spent the whole day doing nothing, live streaming for others to watch. There were strange videos about insect behavior. Those videos were very popular. A girl named Ziru Chao was one of the high-level idlers. The hero remembers watching those videos. He comments that he heard about a laziness competition. This competition would decide who was the laziest of recent years. The contestants in this contest were extremely good at what they did. Comment here, if you would win in a contest like that. Our hero ends up dropping his phone on the ground, completely sad. That's because he was at level 8 of idleness. But since he had too much fun and also fought, he dropped to level 4. The blonde girl tells him not to worry about that silly contest, since other maids were coming to hunt him down. He asks what would happen to his maids once he ran away. He knew the demon, who was of a higher level, wouldn't just let them go unpunished. The blonde girl says she had raised the protagonist since he was a child to be devoured by a demon and asks why he isn't mad at them. Chum says they were just following orders, so he wasn't mad. On the contrary, he was happy they were trying to protect him now. The blonde girl says it's better for the protagonist to run, since the other maids were coming to eliminate them, so it would be risky for them all to stay together. In response, he says that the demon offered a high reward for the maids to eliminate him, but said nothing about the body being whole. That's because the big guy had a brilliant idea. He asked all the girls to vomit into a box, and there they were, doing exactly that. They asked why he had requested something so weird, and he said it was to make a clone of himself. They thought it was very strange, but our protagonist was going to make a clone. At that moment, someone started shouting that Chum had stolen the girlfriend of her young master. It was that mischievous demon girl, and she was telling our hero's father to call his son. Chum was hiding with the blonde girl and asked what level that girl's master was. That guy was level 9. He was extremely strong, since our protagonist was level 3, so it wouldn't be a fair fight. He said he would put his clone to fight that girl, and that they should record everything and post it online. If I'm going to lose, at least I'll get a bit of fame. So, he used his spell and ended up creating a clone of himself. The clone was perfect, but it had no will of its own, so they had to control the puppet. The demon maid kept making a scene at the hero's doorstep. After a brief moment, he finally showed up. That was the puppet our protagonist had created, and the girl asked if he finally had the guts to appear. Meanwhile, the protagonist's father kept yelling for him to run and escape. She asked if Chum really came to settle the score. With a melancholic tone, he said he came to pay for the mistakes he had made. The mischievous demon wondered why he was surrendering so easily. Doing an embarrassing dance, he said he was offering his life to her. Meanwhile, Chum's father was begging him to run and escape. He wasn't supposed to lose his life in such a pathetic way. Far in the back, Chum was with his blonde maid. Everything they said into that crystal ball, the puppet ended up repeating. His blonde maid said that the young master named Hanzi was worthless and had many other girlfriends. She prepared a spell, saying she would take the opportunity to curse that bastard. Then she used her magic and made the hero's puppet insult the guy, calling him a stinky fish. The guy's maid said this boy was disgusting and would never come close to her dear young master. That made the blonde girl extremely furious, and she was supposedly insulting her beloved Chum. She said that Fish Boy had something very tiny downstairs, if you know what I mean. That left everyone speechless. If you got the joke, you got it. I'm not explaining. At that moment, the guy opened a portal to show up there. He was extremely angry and asked how Master Chum knew that. His maid told the guy to shut up and not admit it was true. Honestly, deep down, the guy looks like a mermaid. I'm not even sure if he has that thing. The pink-haired girl asked how the blonde knew that kind of info. But the mermaid man didn't want to hear anything, and already charged at our hero, saying he would shred him to pieces. Chum realized that was a thunder spell. Judging by the size of the lightning bolts, it would probably turn his body into ashes. At that moment, Chunlin was there knocking on the hero's door, saying she wanted to talk to him. But on her phone, a live battle was playing. She was curious to know what that noise was. She knew she had rejected the marriage proposal from the Kim Han family. So, it was probably him fighting our hero. She couldn't let the love of her life suffer because of her decisions. So the girl opened a portal to go save Chum. After receiving that thunder magic, the puppet's body with our protagonist was intact. The mermaid man didn't understand anything and even wondered if the dragon boy was that powerful. Our hero's real body was far in the back, and he didn't know why his puppet didn't take damage. Actually, after all those over-the-top special effects from that power, he couldn't even defeat a simple clone. The one who suffered most in that battle was the mermaid man, who spent a lot of magic. He even asked how the dragon boy managed to withstand his strongest strike and then collapsed after using so much magic. That's because our hero was extremely powerful compared to the people in that lazy world. Even his lamest clone was stronger than the guy considered the toughest around. Then the brunette had a brilliant idea. Pretend the strikes caused damage, but a little delayed. She grabbed that crystal ball and started acting, pretending the lightning had damaged her internal organs. Her acting was so good that the mermaid man started to believe it. Now it was time for him to say his last words, and she quickly handed the crystal ball over to our hero. He used his final moments of life to say the nine-tailed fox girl wasn't to blame for this fight. She was completely innocent, and even asked him not to take his anger out on the girl, because she was sweet and cute. She was right there listening to everything in person. When he said the girl was innocent, she fell deeply in love. It was like something inside her had been unlocked. That made the girl's eyes fill with tears. She started saying he meant everything to her because he risked his life just to keep her safe. He had done all of that for her, and even remembered the moment he used his seductive charms to try and win her over. The family maid sent a message to the protagonist's father, saying they would take the boy's body and even offered a reward. The father cried, saying he couldn't let them take his son for such a small amount. So the girl ended up making a contract with him and offered a lot more money. The boy's father knew about the strategy, that the body, which seemed to have been defeated, was actually just a puppet. That's why he started crying fake tears, saying that now the price was good enough for them to take the body. Moments later, the hero was already far from home and told the blonde girl that his father was really good at acting. Now that he had made his father rich by selling quote-unquote his puppet, he could run away from home and live a peaceful life. But in truth, Chum didn't want peace at all. He wanted to recover his power, his SP, and return to the intergalactic battle with his fleet. He explained all this to the blonde girl, but she tried to convince him to stay in the world of idlers. He said he even liked this world, but he still wasn't used to it. He explained that the cultivation methods from his world were different, and that he needed to gather the forces of the 9 celestial palaces. He also explained how these 9 elements worked, and she was paying close attention. The pink-haired girl was touched when she learned that the protagonist had used his energy points only to save the 3 servants. At that moment, she had a brilliant idea. If she ripped off her wings, he could heal her and thus regain SP. She told him this idea thinking it was genius, but the amount of energy needed to heal the wings wasn't worth it. Besides that, it was too painful for him to see his servants injured. The brunette gave him a new outfit, while the pink-haired girl said the young master was really cute. These demonic clothes gave a good amount of spiritual energy. That made the protagonist curious, and he asked how these spiritual clothes worked. She said her gloves also gave SP points and handed them to him. Even the demon's lowest level equipment provided a certain amount of spiritual power. Little by little, he started collecting some of her items, and the brunette said there would be a competition soon. He wanted to sign up, so they asked him to put his name in the cell phone. He decided to use his real name, the one he had before coming to this world. The scene switched back to that naughty demon girl who said Chum's body was stinking. She had no idea that the puppet she was holding was made of vomit. Chunling was trying to recover her lover's body and had already started attacking the demon girl with fire. She even asked the demon girl not to run away. She just wanted to give her former fiancé a proper burial. The demon servant asked why that fox was so strong if she was just an idler. She wasn't supposed to have that level of power. When she realized that Chum had really been defeated, and by that servant no less, the fox got even angrier. She knew that naughty demon girl wanted revenge on the protagonist because the fox had refused to marry the boy. So she went after the girl, saying she would eliminate her to avenge her fiancé. In the demon realm, everyone was talking about what was happening in the world of idlers. The servant asked for backup in the fight, because she might not be able to handle the fox alone. The demon chief said the fox was only level 2 and wouldn't be hard to defeat. Another demon girl, very beautiful, appeared and said he didn't know what he was talking about. She stated that even though the fox was level 2, she knew many cultivation spells. Then the chief got the idea to put the fox's name on the list. Right after, he explained that she was causing trouble because she was involved with Chum, who had been eliminated the night before. The woman said the temple had already received Chum's soul 3 days ago. He thought that was strange and suggested maybe Chum's body had received another soul, since it was still wandering around causing trouble. That's exactly what had happened, and the guy who ended up in this world is going to destroy them all. At least, that's what they were expecting. The demon girl said a new name had appeared on the registration form for the idler competition, but that name was forbidden throughout the entire demon world. It was the name of the one responsible for injuring their leader for the first time. A clairvoyant woman commented that the name filled in on the form was strictly forbidden. She then asked who had the nerve to write that name. We see in the image the protagonist when he was the captain of the Fengshang Asian fleet, and his name was Cao Lang. That already opens up room for lots of theories. Comment down below what you understood. He won't share his own theories, or people will complain it's a spoiler. But anyone paying attention has already noticed that this story has a major plot twist, so keep watching. After filling out the registration, his assistant told him to change clothes and suggested he put on some feminine outfits. After putting on those items with spiritual power, he regained the impressive appearance from the beginning. Meanwhile, his 2 assistants were arguing about whether or not he should wear women's clothes. In the lazy contestants' waiting room, everyone was enjoying life. His assistant was giving him information over the phone, explaining that the winner would be the laziest one. Someone tapped the protagonist's shoulder. It was that merman, who said he wanted help memorizing some names. He explained that his family had signed him up for the competition to find a future wife, but he couldn't remember the names of the candidates. If he didn't memorize them, his assistant would get mad, so he wanted the protagonist to memorize the names. Chun asked why he would do that. At that moment, the naughty demon girl appeared. The fishman asked the protagonist to whisper the girl's names. She asked if the young master had already memorized the information. He replied yes. At that moment, she showed a piece of Chun-Ling's tail and said she got that as a gift for him. She said it would make a great scarf, and it was still dripping, which meant it had been ripped off recently. The protagonist instantly recognized it as his former fiancée's tail and asked where she had gotten it. The girl, excited, asked if he wanted one too. The scene cuts to the outside of the event, where everyone was watching a battle. The naughty demon girl told him to wait so she could give him the info, but the protagonist ran off to see what was happening. He was in such a hurry to grab a tail. It seemed like it was something really valuable. The fishman asked if it was Chun-Ling's tail. He wanted to save her, but his servant told him to just watch the broadcast and stop getting involved with that girl. He remembered that Chun had said the girl was innocent and had nothing to do with this. The servant replied that it wasn't up to him to decide that. Outside, a crowd was recording everything with their phones raised in the air. At that moment, an old memory surfaced in Chun-Ling's mind. With eyes shining with desire, she begged her parents to eat fried mushrooms. But wanting to be lazy and asking for something tasty seemed like a dangerous contradiction. That's why her parents always brought ugly dishes with no flavor at all. When facing the food they served, her appetite vanished in an instant. Staying still was even worse, so she always distracted herself with magic books. Learning spells and enchantments was what brought her the most joy. Her father would appear out of nowhere, questioning what she was doing at that moment. Upon hearing it was about magic, irritation took over his face. Not even the Save Who Can girl let it slide and said she should stay quiet. She was called lazy, even while trying to learn something new. She felt deeply sad for not being able to use magic or play. All she could do was mess with her phone and wait for time to pass. Reflecting on it, she concluded that life was really horrible. With teary eyes, she asked her parents for permission to go out and play. She was called Lazy Level 2 for not being able to be lazy enough. Meanwhile, the laziness level of Chun from the Chun-Chi family kept rising. Chun-Ling's father saw an opportunity and wanted to unite the families through an engagement. The boy was level 8, and she quickly thought he must be a total failure. Curious, she accessed his social media and found someone who had a lot of fun. She didn't understand how a lazy person of that level could live so well. Even with doubts, she ended up accepting the engagement, and the decision made Chun drop to level 4. Little by little, she began to take an interest in him and felt her heart beat faster. But her father came with new orders and demanded the end of the engagement. She always erased herself, obeying her parents, and never did what she wanted. She thought that being eliminated alongside the one she loved might not be so bad. I admit a speck got in my eye just remembering that part. That demon said that declaring her feelings now would no longer matter. She said she would serve as a sacrifice for the great approaching ceremony. With the cameras from the crowd below pointed at her, she decided to shout the truth. She said that the demons had ordered the maids to take care of certain people. They transformed those victims into oceans because ocean meat was tastier. The boy beside her asked if that was true, and his beer said no. She discovered all of that after breaking into her own maid's secret home. Meanwhile, the crowd shouted for them to carry out the sentence already. The blonde maid insisted they had to hurry and save that girl. The other maids seemed less willing to risk their lives. According to the blonde, Chumli had risked everything just to recover the fake body. She didn't want the girl to die now after everything. The brunette said it was impossible to save her in the middle of so many people. And she reminded that right in front of the girl was one of the 4 demon masters. A big blonde woman was holding the fox girl's face tightly. She said the girl's speech was passionate but useless. With irony, she added that people were too dumb to believe. And just when she was about to finish the girl, someone appeared out of nowhere. Our hero appeared, ready to save the day and rescue the little fox. The crowd started shouting, warning there was someone behind the saint. With a quick spin, the woman asked who dared to attack her. Our hero was there with the little fox in his arms, striking the demon firmly. The woman's clothes tore, revealing a provocative outfit underneath. The brunette declared she was no saint, but a disguised succubus. The pink-haired girl asked how she knew that, and the brunette tried to change the subject. The saint, or rather the succubus, said the hero was a shameless man. Meanwhile, the crowd cheered, watching everything as if it were a soap opera. Our hero tried to take Chunling away, but she resisted. She wanted to go back and recover the young master's body at any cost. The succubus climbed onto a box, saying the girl was a foolish romantic. She swore she would crush that useless one without any mercy. Chunling was deeply grateful to the unknown hero who had appeared, but she needed to go back and rescue the mysterious box. Chun noticed that the supposed saint was preparing a dangerous attack, and he began to imagine what ability he would use to defend himself. The woman activated strong body and prepared to launch a fire blast. Our hero blocked everything with the strength of his cultivation without taking any damage. On the contrary, he gained energy points and his SP bar increased. The attack contained poison, and since he had resistance, it ended up making him stronger. The demon wondered if she had somehow missed the shot. Meanwhile, Chunling knew that defeating her would draw too much attention. He would need to pretend to be injured to avoid complications, just like he did when facing the serious man before. With great acting, he began to simulate a serious internal injury. The blonde demon bragged, thinking she had already won the fight. Our hero, like a true heartthrob, grabbed the woman's waist firmly. He wouldn't let that succubus go unpunished after hurting Chunling. The other lazy ones followed each scene with wide eyes. They were competitors in the laziness tournament and found it all very exciting. It felt more like a soap opera episode than a real battle. Chun was being dramatic on stage, drawing everyone's attention with his speech. He said that if the saint had to kill someone, then let it be him. The crowd applauded, asking the saint to defeat that arrogant one already. But he knew he couldn't tell the truth about the world being controlled by demons, because no one would believe in such an absurd revelation. So his strategy was to draw attention, gain fame, and then spread the truth. The demon realizes what the hero was planning and plays along, pretending to be moved and saying the whole thing touched her heart. She says that if he managed to become the champion of the idleness contest, she would let Chunling live, since the girl had committed a great sin. The sin, in quotes, was speaking that truth to people. She tells the hero not to accept the bet, because it would be hard for him to win. However, he accepts and says that if he happens to lose the contest, he can be eliminated along with the little fox. Out of nowhere, he asks the saint if there's a bathroom nearby, because he urgently needs to go. He picks up the little fox in his arms and carries her to the bathroom. He comments that she stinks because she stayed next to that box full of vomit, and she asks what that smell was, but he doesn't answer. From the top of the suite, they had a beautiful view of the contest area, and he tells her to shower quickly because the competition would begin soon. The girl tells him to get out of the bathroom, but the hero says he still needed to treat her wounds. Mr. Shame really wanted to stay in there, and the girl tried to hide. A bit later, about half an hour remained until the games began. The other competitors were chatting about who they thought would be the great champion. That poison girl notices on television that the hero was in the pool with the little fox. The first trial of the contest would take place in that exact water-filled area, and they assumed he was training. Chunling ends up slipping in the pool because she was weak after losing her ninetails. The hero runs to try to catch his beloved, and in that moment, a classic romantic scene happens. He apologizes for touching the wound on her back, and she tells him not to worry about it. He realizes she was only hurt that badly because she tried to recover the fake body he had made. With confidence, he says he will take revenge on everyone who did that to the girl. She says it wasn't just the demons who hurt her, but also the spectators in the crowd. People in that world already didn't like her much, because she was labeled as idle. But she didn't want to be a bum. She wanted to get off the record and practice magic. In a society where idlers held supremacy, there was no space for those who broke the rule. She knew, just like Chun, that this world was controlled by demons. But they couldn't just tell people that, because no one would believe it. She had already accepted that she was now the enemy of everyone, and even asked him not to join her in all this. But the boy ended up hugging the little fox. He said he had the same destiny as her and wouldn't abandon her. Chun told Chunling not to cry because she had done nothing wrong. In fact, it was the demons who were manipulating people. He warned that there was still a lot they didn't know, and promised to help her discover everything. At that moment, the little fox's tails were healed, and she began to cry emotionally. Chunling hugged the hero, asking for forgiveness. She said she was a level 2 idler, and didn't have the freedom to marry. She said she only promised to marry him so her family would be happy. He knew she wanted to marry him because he was level 8, but now that he was level 4, the girl's father forced her to cancel the engagement. Grabbing the clothes from the floor, she promised that from now on she would do what she wanted and wouldn't obey her father anymore. In a romantic way, she started to say that after the competition they could. At that moment, she was interrupted by the start of the games and didn't finish what she wanted to say. The other competitors in the contest jumped into the pool. He asked what she was saying, and the girl coughed to cover it up. He then asked if she was okay, and the girl spat out water. This was Zui, Chunling's father, who said his daughter had already embarrassed him enough and told her to leave the contest. He also said he had high expectations for Chun, but the girl turned out to be a big disappointment. In a humiliating way, he said he didn't expect Chun to corrupt his daughter with such nonsense. The hero said the girl wasn't lying and that the world was indeed being manipulated by demons. Mr. Fox jumped into the water and said he was the judge of that day's contest and that the protagonist should be careful. The other competitors grew tense, imagining that the girl had picked a fight with the main judge. Chunling, to avoid more problems, left the contest and wished the hero good luck. She knew their lives depended on it. He realized he was in big trouble. His ranking wasn't even that high, so it would be hard to win the contest. They were basically floating on pool rings while people gave them points. 10 minutes passed, and the scoreboard appeared. In 5th place was Chun, the poison girl, with idler level 6. In 4th place was Tosin, a kind of vampire, with level 7. In 3rd place was Baiji, from the feather species, with level 8. Don't ask what kind of feather species that is, because he didn't know. In 2nd place was Ruim, a normal human girl, with no strange species, at level 18. That was a girl. The championship was being broadcast worldwide, and people were commenting on social media about who would win. However, there was one idler who stood out among them all. It was the mermaid man, level 9. The protagonist thought this guy didn't even have such a high level, but he was standing out. He had a childhood memory of training with his master. She said he was destined to become a fleet captain. He asked why he needed to learn flashy skills that weren't useful in battle. She replied that many people give a lot of importance to appearances, and showed him the entire kingdom she had conquered. Sometimes, brute strength isn't enough to win big fights. At that moment, he understood everything. To win an idler championship, it wasn't enough to be the strongest. You needed flashy techniques, and in that, he was really good. People began to comment on Chun's abilities. There were only 3 minutes left before the first stage ended, and the protagonist was in last place. Then he began to emit a bright light in the middle of the arena. Angels appeared in the sky, and everyone watched in awe. Soon, a part of the sky cracked like a dome, and a portal opened, showing several planets in the universe. It was all very beautiful, and people had never seen anything like it. Even the other idol girls were enchanted by the scene. It looked like he had summoned the whole universe before the arena. If this was the extravagant power he needed, he had succeeded. Even the idol girl from Roblox was amazed, saying it was beautiful. The old fox said that a mere level 4 idler couldn't do something like that, and he said the protagonist was cheating. They asked the name of the ability, and since it didn't have one, he made it up, saying it was 50-cent special effects. The poison girl went to him and asked what his idler level was. Since he was level 4, people didn't really believe it. They even used their phones to measure his level, and it really showed he was level 4 idol. But that ability could only be used by someone level 25 or higher. In this world of futility and laziness, he needed an excuse to explain such great power. Since the most important thing for these people was appearances. To you, that's not much different from our world. He thought for a brief moment and had a brilliant idea. He said it was all thanks to the blessing of the flame goddess, pointing at Chun-Ling. He was born destined to be a low-level slacker and had a dark future. But he prayed intensely to the flame goddess, who blessed him. The crowd watching began to ask if she was the flame goddess. This caught the attention of everyone in the arena, and also those watching online. He kept casting special effects in the sky and said it was all thanks to the blessing he received from her. Actually, those were the tears of despair from the flame goddess. The crowd that had attacked her started asking for forgiveness and even knelt. The poor girl started saying it wasn't true and that they were being tricked by demons. But she realized the protagonist was very smart and must have a reason for making up that story. The girl's foot was all infected, making it seem like he knew something. That saint went up to him and touched his shoulder. He had trained her very well to become a slacker. But the girl was a complete rebel. She knew the demons controlled everyone and didn't even care if people knew the truth. She told that, and the saint decided to execute her in the town square. So, she needed to follow the ground plan and gain fame first. Then, spread everything smartly to the others. Upon realizing the hero's strategy, she began a speech that caught everyone's attention. She said she really was the goddess of this world and was there to bless the less fortunate. Pointing to the ground, she said she had done exactly that with him, turning him into a great slacker. Even with low stats, she could bless him, making him a very charming man. He made a gesture to the girl, saying she did a great job. Since they were drawing a lot of attention, the girl's father became furious. He said the guy's powers were fake, and that he was probably using some trick. It wasn't just the fox who was a judge. There were 2 other female judges, so the hero would probably make it to the next stage. One of the judges was Professor Ming, passionate about discovering the universe's history. The other was a blogger, very focused on views. So, she would probably vote for the protagonist too. The saint told the fox not to worry because she would handle it if the hero caused any controversy. Thus, he ended up passing to the next stage. The one who came in first was the mermaid boy. In the waiting room, he waited for lunch and wondered how he would defeat the other 3 high-level ones. The girls were curious to know more about Chun and said it was impossible for a level 4 to cast level 20 spells. The poison girl said it was because of the blessing of the fire goddess, but the Roblox girl said there was no fire goddess. To her, it was impossible for someone to be blessed with powers for free. She said that in this world, selfishness was the most important thing. The vampire girl said she needed to suck his red liquid to read his memories. She went there pretending to be a cute little girl and ended up tripping. The girl introduced herself as a vampire princess, and Chun-Ling wondered if those girls pretended to be fragile. She tried to use her seduction powers and said that, as a vampire, she would like to feed on the hero. The other contestants said it was hard for a man to resist the little vampire's charm because she was very pretty. But the hero was taken and didn't like flirting, so he slapped her. The girls found that strange, and because of the slap, the girl started to sleep. He said now she could rest in peace and hunger wouldn't bother her anymore. That made everyone think he was a demon and not a dragon boy. Besides, who could resist the charm of a little vampire? They began calling the event organizers because he had slapped the girl. They said that besides being a level 4 idler, he was also shameless. Judge Ming showed up and asked what was going on. They said Chun slapped the vampire girl and that it was better for her to go check if the girl was okay. The judge went to the hero and said that slapping other competitors was not allowed. In response, he said that he actually did nothing. She just fainted from hunger, and the event organization was very bad for letting competitors get sick. He started blaming the organization, which made Ming apologize. She also said she would take the little vampire to the infirmary right away. The woman got very close to the hero and said she recognized that technique, called acupuncture points from the Chanfeng school. The technique used to make her faint was something she had learned in another world. He started thinking this woman came from the same universe as him and that she had been in the apocalypse battle. Chun held the woman's hand and asked if she knew that boy and if she came there after the intergalactic battle. The girls began saying the protagonist was shameless for hitting on the judge. Ming replied that she could take him to see the competition prize. Since he entered that place, he noticed a kind of smoke coming from his hands. Besides the world being controlled by demons, he had now found a woman who probably came from the same world as him. However, that would be too risky and could be a demon trap. He had an idea and went to the informant. According to Ming, many demons were watching the hero, so she couldn't just contact him and give all the information she knew. He stayed outside waiting for the girl. With a smile, she said she would take him to see the contest prize, something he would really like. We see that the hero actually used a clone and controlled it with the first cell phone. This even made the girl jealous, saying he was hitting on the teacher. Chun-Ling knew Miss Ming and said she was a history teacher at the Precious Academy and very beautiful. However, Chun said it was nothing like that. He was just trying to learn more about how the system of that world worked. As soon as he entered the room, the hero was surprised. How could he have forgotten? What was there was his own warship, which he controlled in the apocalypse battle. It was strange for the ship to be in that place. The teacher started talking to someone who seemed to be inside the machine and said to trust the man she brought because he was trustworthy. When Chun approached to talk to the person inside the ship, the door opened. From inside came out a spear that pierced the hero's clone's body. The signal dropped. The girl asked what happened because they could no longer see the clone's vision. For a moment of carelessness, Chun let his clone be destroyed. He ran off, trying to find out what happened to his ship, and gave the excuse that he was going to the bathroom. If he could enter the ship and make it work, he could leave that world and return to the battle with the fleet. However, the power level he had was not enough to operate the machine. Since the ship was in that place, he decided to fly high into the sky to see what planet it was. After practicing for several days, he spent almost half of his energy points just to fly. Finally, he reached the atmosphere, and from above he could clearly see the whole picture of the world. He realized that it was the same planet as his own. It was Earth, which he had seen from space many times before. The scene returned to the past, when Kaolang, the protagonist's real name, was a simple child. They were on a spaceship learning more about the universe. He asked the teacher why he had to learn other magics if he would not use them. Every child was born destined to use a certain type of element. The teacher said it seemed strange to learn elements that would not be useful in the future. But all of that was necessary to record in history. The civilization evolved from an agricultural culture to using spiritual powers and conquering the galaxy thanks to the spiritual progress they had. Even if it seemed useless, learning certain elements that one did not master was necessary for civilization's advancement. If one day the planet was invaded or destroyed, it would still be necessary to have people who used all the elements. If they did not learn all the elements, over time some magics would be lost. From above, Chun wondered what happened to his home planet. Then he understood he had not traveled to another dimension but through time. At that moment, something hit his head. When he looked back, he realized what was there. It was that proof that she was preparing to take a bath, and he got scared. He remembered the woman's appearance. She was his opponent in the apocalypse battle. At the moment of the celestial disc explosion, he took all the shockwave with her. However, it was strange she was alive. The girl started screaming, asking what he was doing there. He did not have enough power to leave that place and began to apologize. She started to close the portal. However, he asked her to wait. He even asked what had happened to them. Besides closing the portal, the woman ordered the ground to open to the earth. He ended up falling into the hole. Ming asked the person inside the ship why she did that to Mr. Chun. The person explained that it was actually only a clone. This was a relief because the man was not dead. However, she was sad that he did not trust her. Even if he came from the same world as her, it was not certain they could cooperate. It would be difficult for everyone to work together and discover the secrets of that world. It was not wise to bring people to see the ship because Chun could be a disguised demon. Ming got angry and asked why the girl inside the ship suspected that she was also a demon. There was a big chance that was true. Ming got irritated, saying the girl did not trust anyone. It would be hard to work together. The only person Ming trusted in life was the hero, and he appeared in her memory. However, he had already lived about 1,000 years. So, that theory was right. He did not travel to another world, but in time. Back at the competition, the man was in first place. Since the protagonist's opponent was a vampire girl and was unconscious, he moved on to the next round. He was falling from the sky. Because he used all his SCP, he returned to the appearance of a child. The people said it was unfair he passed to the next stage without effort. He lay on the ground, relieved. He needed to focus again on Chunling and asked the teacher to let him see the ship again. Mr. Fox said that the draw was unfair because he wanted Chun to lose in the second stage. The other judge who did the draw manipulated the sticks so he would pass because she liked him. She teased Mr. Fox, asking what he had against Chun. Nervous, he said he had nothing against him. He only wanted him to be eliminated. She said that was fine and that he had nothing against Chun. Actually, he just wanted the best lazy person to win the contest. The saint exchanged messages with Fox, saying her people had completed the task. He wondered what that task was and what it meant. At that moment, Chun appeared and asked where Miss Ming was. Fox said she went to the bathroom. Jun thanked him, leaving Chunling's father scared. He could not believe that boy had so much boldness and already started preparing a spell in his hand, saying he would finish him. However, he saw smoke coming out of the protagonist's hands. That smoke was rare and only appeared in specific situations. The man grabbed the young man's hand and dragged him away. The other judge was filming everything on her live stream. People started commenting that the protagonist was fooling the judge. All of this to get more points. One of the competitors in 5th place said Chun was just an idiot. Everyone was curious to know who said that. They commented that his clothes were very tacky. The guy was arrogant and said all the others were nothing compared to him. The girls said he was tacky and should keep quiet. The squirrel girl cried because the blonde spent most of the day drinking bubble tea and still had a perfect body. She was not chubby. It was time for the second round where Zhang would fight Ling, the squirrel girl. Zhang had a hostility system. The angrier people were at him, the more points he earned. Since he had Chun's enemies, he was gaining attention. He said his mission was to defeat him. Mr. Fox explained that this modification was dangerous. It was called spirit power and locked vital energy. It could be purified but was difficult. That was why it was better to stay away from people in society. Since Fox showed hostility to Chun, he took damage from the modification and returned to the body of a child. He explained that the more people hated him, the more damage he took from the modification and his SP would be drained. Chun did not believe much in that, but seeing the effects of the modification, he started to worry. He needed to find another way to recover his energy points. He asked Mr. Fox if the pool used in the first test was still full. He said yes, so Chun ran there to recover his energy. The second round of battles was about to begin. Zhang was there insulting everyone, calling them bastards and smelly. Because of that, the crowd began to hate him. The more he cursed, the more points he earned. He grabbed the squirrel girl's little animals and said he would destroy them. She admitted defeat and begged him not to destroy the animals. But Zhang did not care. He only wanted to cause terror and threw the animals on the ground, stepping on them. This made the squirrel girl start to cry. That crying was not even sincere, because she did not even have her eyes open. After saying that, he kicked the girl, throwing her out of the arena. However, before she fell into the water, someone appeared and caught her. Zhang said it was no use Chun making that angry face. We see that the hero was really making a mean expression. He said he would not forgive that shameless guy for hitting a little girl. The guy claimed he did nothing wrong because they were in a competition. If we look at the truth, he was just participating in a contest. At that moment, a poster of a movie called Interstellar Battle appeared. It was exactly the hero who was on the cover of that movie. We see a flashback of Zhang. He was in another world, and his name was Lung. He was 20 years old. He was taking the poster of the movie with the protagonist on the cover. This opens room for many theories. The hero is on the cover of a movie poster from another world. Anyone who wants to share theories in the comments can feel free. Zhang was a troublemaker and a rowdy. Since he didn't have many talents for cultivation, he caused terror in the streets. This world had strong mortal cultivation and alien beings. He arrived home and greeted his new girlfriend, demanding she make food for him. However, he had never seen his girlfriend wear that kind of clothes, which shocked him. Actually, she was a man, and he did not expect that. The boy got angry and asked why she lied, saying she was a woman. But the girl, actually a boy, said he didn't say anything. Then he threatened to call his brothers to come back and tear him apart. But at that moment, he was hit by a car. To make things worse, he was hit in the lower parts by a cultivating boy. When he opened his eyes, he had been summoned by the vampire girl. She said he was there to become her husband. He didn't understand anything. If he had gone to another world, if he was dead, if he was in heaven or hell, or if he had traveled through time. He was more lost than someone in a shootout. The boy was obviously traumatized by girls and said he wouldn't marry anything. After a while, he understood that in this world there was a kind of level system. The more of a bum you were, the higher your level. But he was in deep sadness and gave up on everything, going to live in the mountains. When he was about to give up on life, he got a hostility system. The more he made people angry, the bigger his rewards would be. That was enough to make him want to be one of the best again. So, the system started giving many missions. One of them was to collect hostility in the competition arena and crush Chun. Since people were cursing him by calling him bastards, the hero took all the damage from the curse. This curse did not damage the hero, especially when people were cursing him. They could be cursing anyone, but just by being near, he took all the damage. He held the squirrel girl and said he needed to recover his energy to heal her. He completely ignored those who were cursing and passed by them without paying attention. The boy was left confused. This made the boy confused, asking why the hero passed by him, ignoring him. When he turned, he was surprised to see the hero doing something disgusting. The pool water had been contaminated by the squirrel girl and was full of poison. The protagonist was resistant to poison, so that turned the poison into energy for him. Drinking the water was not a bad idea, but it was disgusting. Everyone said he was a bit strange. The squirrel girl said he would die for drinking the poisoned water. She said it was better for him to run to the infirmary. She cried a lot and said it was all her fault, apologizing. The girl's tears were also poisonous. When he wiped her tears, he gained more points. They explained that since she was little, she was immersed in poison, so she acquired these powers. This caused suffering, but she got used to the situation. One of her interests was insects. She used that to get visibility on the internet, but her poison powers got out of control, and she destroyed her whole clan. She was a victim and not to blame for that. When he learned the girl's story, he was shocked. Not even our protagonist expected something like that. When wiping the girl's tears, he told her to stay calm because he would fix everything. The scene of him wiping the little girl's tears caused a lot of buzz on the internet. Everyone talked about it. This ended up making Jung angry because he wanted to stand out compared to Chun. Chun was the guy who wanted to be the protagonist. The girl who watched this got angry and said the hero was shameless. She complained that he was wiping the girl's tears right in front of her. But the maids told the girl to calm down because it was all part of the plan. A crazy woman said the protagonist was shameless for drinking the bathwater. She told the boy to mind his own life. He did that, and Ming held his hand, saying there should be no violence. Holding both by their arms, the girl dragged them, asking them to follow. Meanwhile, the squirrel girl didn't understand anything. She opened a portal and took everyone to a special room where they could talk privately. Noticing the different place, he asked if she had the ability to control space. Jang got furious and said the protagonist was messing up his contest. Seriously. Ming asked if the two came from the Battle of the Apocalypse. She wanted to know if they recognized the true hero. With a confident smile, the boy said he himself was the master. The protagonist wondered if that guy was part of the logistics team. Without shame, the boy said he was Kalange, captain of the Asian fleet Feng Shang. The protagonist noticed the woman was a little crazy. Ming was surprised to be in front of the fleet captain. The protagonist asked why that guy said those things, but he didn't care about the boys pretending and got into the story. Then he grabbed the supposed Kalange by the waist and asked him to tell everything that happened. Ming said they would only know the truth after defeating the demons. She said high-level demons were concentrated in the Outer World Temple. Only those who won the contest could get there and face them. The theory was that after the Apocalypse battle, demons implanted modified cells in the races. It was as if planet Earth was a big barn. After this modification, they created a system to make humans lazy and weak. They encouraged laziness so humans would get weaker and weaker. It might not even be related to the meat becoming tastier, but rather controlling the power of the races. Jung mocked the boy, saying he admired his battle achievements. He asked if they had any ancient weapons or magical artifacts. Ming said the only thing left was the battleship. The supposed Kalange said to take him to the ship he commanded. This made the protagonist furious. He didn't mind the boy pretending to be him, but controlling the ship was too much. While walking to where the ship was kept, the protagonist prepared a spell to disable the boy. Ming knew who the real Kalange was and whispered to him to stay calm. She said she discovered the vampire princess had summoned him to this world. The boy was probably controlled by the demons, but she wasn't sure. Ming mentioned that the curse on the protagonist, the purple smoke, was because of this demon controlling Zhang. Zhang admitted to being the real Kalange. He asked if Ming would trust him in the future. Ming said last time he lied, using a puppet to meet her, so it would be hard to trust him. This made the boy embarrassed, and he apologized. She laughed and said she was joking, but they first needed to find out who cast the curse on the boy. Then they had to recover the warship and show the world the power from 1,000 years ago. In the battle from 1,000 years ago, the protagonist was eliminated along with the alien leader. However, she somehow managed to resurrect. She probably resurrected right after the battle. With this resurrection, she created the new world. She surrounded planet Earth with a dome. She made the races living there transform, like a school of fish. These demons were actually not demons, but aliens cultivating the Earth races. Instead of Kalonge's soul traveling to another universe, he traveled 1,000 years into the future. He remembered all his companions. He missed his friends a lot. He wondered if they also managed to reincarnate 1,000 years later. It was sad to lose all loved ones. To cheer the protagonist up, the squirrel girl appeared holding a cup full of tears. She knew that helped him recover energy. She said she collected all the tears to help him. Without thinking twice, our protagonist drank it all. He put his hand on the girl's head, thanking her. He said if she needed help in the future, just say so, and he would do everything to help. Putting her hand on her face shyly, she asked if by chance he could help her with something. He got tense and asked what kind of thing that would be. She said she wanted to take revenge. That emblem on the girl's forehead was from the first poison school about 1,000 years ago. She was trembling with fear. She said her whole sect was exterminated by the demons. Fortunately, the secret teachings of the poisonous sect were recorded inside the girl's body. At that moment, Chun understood what his master had said in the past about learning techniques and recording them all. He was worried because he didn't know if he could do all that. But the girl held his hand and said that from then on, all her tears would fall only for him. She was like a power bank. Whenever the girl cried, he recovered spiritual energy. At that moment, Chun-Ling appeared. She realized it was a somewhat romantic scene with our hero. She got jealous and said he was hitting on the teacher, who was an older woman. Now he was hitting on a girl. He said he was very shameless. The poor guy explained that it was nothing like that. The squirrel girl greeted the younger sister. Jealously, she stood in front and told him not to pay attention to all the girls. Comment below which of these characters you liked the most. He needed to first find out who cast that curse. They thought it was Torius Ang, the boy with small horns and spiky hair. He explained that he couldn't be near people who were angry or very mad because it would harm his body. The squirrel said the vampire princess had the ability to judge people's memories. If Chun could learn this skill, it would be great to find out who caused the modification. But the little vampire was unconscious in the infirmary. The fox asked why she was unconscious. The protagonist said he ended up slapping her. They would need to learn that skill from the girl. They said they would go to the infirmary to see if she would teach him. The squirrel said she wanted to cheer for them and wished them luck. When they arrived, the vampire used all her acting skills. She apologized on behalf of her fiancé, said that now Chun was a weak little boy and couldn't hit her. She said it was amazing to see the arrogant girl from the Chun family apologizing, but she wanted to hear the little brother's explanation. He said it was nothing, that he had knocked people out, especially the contestants of the competition. He knew what he did was wrong but didn't have a good excuse. So he knelt down and apologized, said he only slapped her because he thought the girl was using her seductive powers. That shocked everyone. The fox girl shouted that the vampire was shameless, but she had to trick the girl and disguised it by saying the shameless one was Chun. He apologized again, said that because he was weak, he couldn't compete with the vampire. So he cut expectations right away, promised he wouldn't do anything bad to her again. The girl said she didn't want to be with him. She threw a pillow, which he caught in the air. The little vampire said she didn't want to seduce a shameless guy like him. On the contrary, she only wanted to drink his red liquid. The fox found several small bags with that liquid. It didn't make sense for her to say that if she could just go to the infirmary and drink the juice. That left the vampire trapped. She could no longer hide what she wanted to do. For those who don't remember, she wanted to find out where the hero's power came from. She could access memories by sucking the red liquid. So she decided to tell the whole truth. She said she came from the vampire clan, which was extremely rare. They could access people's memories through the liquid of life. But this liquid caused addiction. People became addicted to drinking it. Not just because of the taste, which was good, but also because of the feeling of memories flooding their mind. Because of this, many vampire clans started fighting for power. This power also increased people's mana. When someone became very addicted, they became kind of dumb and only thought about it. The more red liquid they drank, the more addicted they became. However, they also became stronger. It was a double-edged sword. Over time, the most powerful clan leaders became addicted. The clan lost its strength. One of the clan's magics was summoning people. Since there was no one left for her to marry, she decided to summon people from another world. That's how she summoned Zhang a few months ago. Chun had a brilliant idea. He would let her drink his red liquid. In return, She would teach the skill to him. That made the girl shy because he would be able to access her memories. He asked what she was hiding. To convince him, she said it would be a fair trade. He had a lot of stories to tell, so to speak. She argued that the vampire clan had thousands of years of knowledge, so he would benefit more by accessing her memories. Meanwhile, she said he was just a lazy guy who had nothing to offer her. The protagonist was cooking. As soon as she finished talking, he made an extremely delicious dish using the red juice. The smell was incredible. It was as if the girl was in front of the best food ever made on Earth. She said she would take a small amount just so it wouldn't seem rude. When she was about to eat, she already felt she would like it. Again, she gave those screams like the character in Food Wars. It seemed it was really very good. As soon as she finished eating, her power was activated. She started receiving his memories. She saw the boy was studying. It looked like he was using letters from another world. He took notes while using his cell phone. There were some text messages, but she couldn't read them because the language was different. But she understood that he was studying and arranging meetings with friends. It seemed Collonge was very studious and dedicated to martial arts cultivation. He saw that people from that world could fly using swords. She realized it was an ancient civilization. He went to a restaurant to eat with friends. Collonge was very well liked. Everyone said he was a very good person. A curiosity, the little girl with rabbit eyes was actually a boy. And the chubby little boy was actually a girl. Don't ask me why. Chinese works are Chinese works. He told his friends he wouldn't follow a common profession. He wanted to be a fleet captain and travel the universe. His friends said it was a risky and dangerous job. But that was Collonge's dream. He wanted to know the outer world. They made a promise that when they were old, they would come back to this place to eat together again. I just don't know if that will be possible, I'm sorry. As soon as all the memories filled the little vampire's mind, she got scared. She didn't know she was about to discover so many things. It was amazing to think there was a world in the past where people practiced cultivation. Chun asked the dog girl if she liked the world of the past or the current fish phase of the future better. Obviously, she preferred the past. There, you could eat delicious things, do many fun activities, and best of all, learn cultivation. It was a shame she couldn't go back to the past. However, Chun promised to restore everything to its original state. Extending his hand, he asked if the little vampire would help him. With her help, it would be possible to make the world go back to how it was 1,000 years ago. She held his hand. Right after, she went to the protagonist and gave him a strong kiss. Poor little fox had to watch that happening with her fiancé. Very angry, she went there and slapped the little vampire. From now on, Chun would have 1,000 years of vampire skills. He promised they would recover the old glory of the Terraquios. If you are enjoying the story, leave a like, a comment on YouTube, and share the video. There are many chapters, so it's possible to make a series for you all. At that moment, out of nowhere, a little bird appeared carrying a cute girl. He imagined giving her to his girlfriend, but when he arrived, the little bird had been replaced by a bad boy. He dropped the cute girl on the fox's head. The protagonist asked why she was so sulky. She said she wasn't sulky at him. She was a little upset because she wanted to know how he used the exit with a kiss skill to seduce the other candidates. He said biting and sucking the red juice wouldn't be very nice. So, the exit with a kiss was more practical. Holding her, he said he would test it on the girl first. During a spring afternoon, Chun was under the sunlight giving his first little kiss to a girl. She didn't expect it. Just by looking at her blushing cheeks, you could tell the girl liked it. He asked what she felt, but she couldn't answer. Poor thing was frozen. Her belly tingled, and her head felt like it was going to explode. But all of that was comfortable. It was very good because he managed to see all the girl's memories. So, all Chun had to do was go and kiss one by one. That way, he would find out who cast the curse on him and who was the demon infiltrator. Just thinking about him kissing other girls made her furious, and she started preparing fire magic. The squirrel girl was recording everything. The man asked who wanted to fight. She said it was him against King. Then, over the speakers, they announced who would participate in the next battles of the contest. It was the little Roblox girl against the serious boy. However, the serious boy didn't show up, and the Roblox girl won. He was very dumb and didn't realize it. He kept trying to understand what had happened. Meanwhile, the squirrel girl tried to figure out who cast the curse on her friend. She wondered if it was the dumb guy. Meanwhile, the squirrel girl tried to find out who cursed the hero. The merman asked who made her cry and promised he would get revenge. Ah, he was talking about Chun. Well, he didn't exactly make her cry. He just thanked her, like he was already preparing something for the hero. Pulling the sleeve of his clothes, he showed some marks. This guy is still going to cause a lot of trouble. He asked who was fighting now. The next battle was between Inge and Baiwang. Baiwang, as always, was drinking her bubble tea. Everyone said she was extremely pure and immaculate. Inge was very mysterious. People didn't know much about her. The only information the public had was that she came from a country called the Land of Cherry Blossoms. Before the battle started, she was already teasing her opponent, asking if she had bought the judge. In a sweet and cute way, she said no. The girl revealed she was having her miso. Since the blonde came from a very big country, she brought her sword. She showed she was a centaur of cultivators. She asked the other girl if she liked spicy food. As soon as the competition started, she threw many chili powders in all directions. That caused a spicy explosion. Don't ask me what that means. The people watching said the smell of chili was reaching them. While drinking her bubble tea, she asked if her opponent was ready to cry. However, a girl from the land of cherry blossoms got very angry. She ended up stepping on Baiwang's own sword. She said that was no big deal. She had never seen anyone step on her sword before. That showed the opponent was her equal. A little mockingly, she went there and held Baiwang's hands. With a smile, she said she really liked spicy food. That made the girl think she had made a great friend. It was hard to find other women who liked spicy food. In a melodramatic way, she knelt down saying she had finally found someone like her. Said she would not die alone. To provoke even more, she said she liked spicy food, but not having pepper sprayed on her body. She said this very close to Baiwang's ear. She said Baiwang even had good taste in cooking, but she was not strong in cultivation. They could never be together, because Baiwang was not on her level. She took the straw from Baiwang's bubble tea and started drinking it. To tease the blonde, she said she had bad taste, not good taste. This made Baiwang extremely angry. She tried to hit her with the sword. Baiwang managed to do exactly what she planned, which was to provoke the opponent. But by missing the sword strike, she hit other opponents. Using magic or weapons against others was forbidden. After the mistake, she threw her tea at the girl. It was announced over the speakers that Baiwang was eliminated. She tried to attack the opponent. She said everyone came to watch boring shows, that it was better to organize battles between competitors. The serious guy tried to understand what they were saying. He could not hear. At that moment, the guy with spiky hair appeared. The squirrel girl asked what he was doing. They could already imagine. He fixed his hair, saying he was not doing anything special. The little girl said she recorded all the battles to show him. Actually, Chun needed to know where the other contestants were. The squirrel girl ended up pointing. He ran to the place where they were. The fox girl covered the squirrel girl's eyes. She said she could not see what was about to happen. Actually, he planned to go around kissing the girls to see all their memories. The fox girl also did not want to see that scene. Back in the competitor's room, Baiwang appeared a little sad. The Roblox gamer asked why she was so frustrated. She said she was disqualified only because she broke the rules. Baiwang mentioned that even if the little girl won, she would not be happy with the prize. After sitting down, she thanked all her friends for trying to comfort her. She did not know exactly all the prizes, but one of the rewards was to be able to go to the temple in the sky. What irritated her was knowing that Ione and the guy with spiky hair could reach the final. Even though Ione seemed weak, she was very smart. Baiwang felt something strange was happening in that room. She suspected something very dangerous was going on. Being upset about losing in the second round, she ended up dropping her tea on the floor. The whole fate of her clan depended on how she did in the contest. At that moment, someone appeared to hold her tea, but she was too sad and did not care about anything. When she looked ahead, she realized Chun's face was in front of her eyes. So she ended up giving her first kiss. Now the mess will start, the guy will go around kissing all the women. She did not understand anything but did not refuse and stayed for the little dance. After a few seconds, she moved away. He said it was very good because it tasted like tea. This made Baiwang blush. She said it was understandable for him to do that since he was very handsome. But he needed to make a formal request to her father first. While she spoke, he went to kiss the Roblox girl. Right after, he kissed Ione. They all started insulting the protagonist, calling him scum and shameless, but he ran away. He still had to kiss Zhang but passed by. The guy asked why the boy was running. To everyone's surprise, he also kissed the crazy guy. Not even the little fox expected her fiancé to do that. The serious man asked if he should also go there to get a kiss. They shouted for him not to do that. The guy started calling the protagonist shameless. He said he would eliminate him. But after apologizing, he said it was not his intention to offend anyone. He took the seaweed off Zhang, saying he would invite him to dinner later. Zhang said he would end his life, but the protagonist asked for help from the god of flames. His fiancée ran there and asked everyone to calm down. She said Chun was not such a bad guy. Not everyone agreed. The question was how he was not bad if he was kissing everyone. She said the boy was very polite, and that she would teach him not to do that kind of thing. But when she looked back, there was the protagonist kissing the squirrel girl. Teacher Ming asked everyone to stay calm. She said fighting in the contest was strictly forbidden. It seems it was different with the squirrel girl, and he liked her more. Even the comet said she was like a battery to recharge his spiritual power. While everyone argued, the fox girl asked if Chun managed to find out who the real culprit was. They were all heading to the dining room. They said they would not leave any food for Chun. During the kisses, he discovered that Inga was actually a demon in disguise. She was looking for people with bad personalities everywhere. She gave them a system to accumulate hostility. In other words, she was the one who gave that power to Zhang. She started giving rewards to those who completed certain tasks. This was a way to manipulate more people. It was also a way to gain more power. It cursed people who seemed like threats. The issue was to go there and defeat her. However, Chun said if they did that, he would also be eliminated. She was a clever witch and had already planned not to be defeated. It seemed they were in a dead end. He said the only way to beat her was to make her be on his side. The best way was to make the girl fall in love with him. This made the little fox angry, and she was already preparing her fire magic. The squirrel said this was a matter of life or death. The little fox said she knew, but could not help feeling jealous. So, they needed to figure out how to make someone fall in love with Chun. The squirrel girl asked what made the little fox fall in love. She said she liked him, right? She asked what made her start to like him. With blushing cheeks, she answered several things, like his delicious food. She felt she could trust him. She also liked that he paid attention to everything she said. That made her feel important. She trusted him and he helped. She was willing to be on the same level as her. Chun wrote everything down in a notebook to use these strategies. He wanted to make Ing fall in love with him. The most important point was that the boy's existence was special. He was someone irreplaceable. She was truly in love. There were no two people alike, but Chun said it wasn't all that for her to praise him so much. She got a little upset and asked him to speak quickly. There, with the other girls, he said he would not win over any of them. Only Inge. He thanked her, saying her help was important. Before leaving, he said he was happy to know she liked him. That made the girl even more in love. If you also like this character, this video deserves your like. She hugged Chun from behind and asked him to repeat those words. He first needed to break the bond between Inge and Usar. They went to the dining hall, preparing to eat the food. I won't even say what it looked like. They said the food was nutritious. It was great for the competitors to eat. The Fox Lord tried to make them believe the food was healthy. In fact, it was bad food that only made them weaker. They ate everything and didn't leave anything for Chun. Bei said the appearance wasn't good, but the taste was delicious. Inga kept teasing Bei, saying she had terrible taste. Probably the food had to be horrible. They started arguing, one saying the other didn't understand food. Bei left some food on her hand and began licking it. She proved it was really tasty. A delicious smell started filling the canteen. The girls heard Chun calling everyone to try his food. He said he had made food for everyone. When they looked, they saw a feast on the table. The girls got curious to know what Chun had prepared. The Fox Lord told his daughter not to get involved with that guy. He said he had defeated other participants. He had made his own food. They weren't used to this kind of food. So, the Fox Lord prepared to cast fire magic on the hero. Chun held the rays, blocking with the shrimp. That way, the food got fried. Quickly, he put that food into the Fox Lord's mouth. He told him to be careful not to burn his lips. Chuninya ran to her father, asking him to like the food in his hand. She thought he would not like it, but it was delicious. He started eating everything. The Lord enjoyed the delicious food. Chun went close to Sal to offer her food. He made a typical dish from the region where she came from. He said that shrimp with sakura leaves was made especially for her. The place where the girl was born was destroyed by demons. She fled from there when she was little. Because of that, all the sakura fried shrimps became extinct, even though it was the national street snack, and she never ate another one. And, unbelievably, it was her favorite food. She didn't know how Chun had found out about that. Covering her face with the sleeve, she said it wasn't this kind of food that caught her attention. Chun asked if that wasn't enough to please her. She said it wouldn't be a problem, because he had already prepared other typical foods from her country. Each girl wanted to try. All were shocked because they didn't imagine the protagonist was a great cook. Both Usar and Ion were drooling, dying to try, while Bai and the other girl, the gamer, ran off to try the skewers. They were both very hungry but pretended not to be interested. Holding the spoon, he noticed something strange. Usar said not to touch the cutlery with dirty hands, but the boy tried by putting the spoon in his mouth. He said the spoon was poisoned. There was poison in all the other spoons, probably put there by the demons who organized the contest. Jun explained the poison was so none of them would win the tournament. In the worst case, it was to frame the shelling house. This was the house of the Fox Lord who organized the food. Usar ended up hitting Monomaiza, very angry. Giving an excuse, she said she was going to the bathroom. Actually, she really wanted to eat but didn't want to admit it. The boy kicked the door. Soon after, he started shouting to the system outside the house. He asked if the system knew the food was poisoned, and if it was at risk of life. Mockingly, the system made fun of him. Without him asking, the system showed information about the missions he was doing. This made Usar angry, throwing the system to the ground. He said he was just playing the role of a slave. After being summoned to this world, he started doing missions for the system. Because of that, he gained hostility points. He did not want to be the system's lackey, doing everything it asked. He asked the system to cancel the contract. Because of that, he began to feel a terrible pain. The message said he had become trash again like before. Without the hostility system, his body would no longer get stronger. He began to feel all the damage he should have felt a long time ago. He realized the little boy on the ground was suffering the same way he was. He noticed the boy must be strong for having endured everything. His vision started to blur. He realized he had lived a mediocre life. At that moment, we saw a flashback from 1,000 years ago, when he was still a child. He suffered bullying from classmates and had no friends to protect him. He studied at the same school as Cao Lang and the protagonist. However, they did not know each other. He said some people are born naturally hardworking. No matter how much he studied, he was destined to be a failure. On the other hand, Cao Lang was very smart. Even if he did not know something, he studied a lot to learn. That was the biggest difference between them. Cao Lang was hardworking and did not give up easily. It seemed that no matter how hard he tried, he could not be good at anything. Because of that, when he was summoned to this world, he gave up and surrendered on the mountain. He had given up many times before, lying on the mountain. It was then that the girl with rabbit ears rescued him. Sometimes, he remembered that moment and woke up right after. The scene changes to the hero trying to use his charms on Ione. He asked if she knew how to use it or if she would come soon. She joked, asking if he wanted to date her. She said for him that sacrifice was just a sacrifice. Demons like people as sacrifices. And that was what he planned. She asked why he implied she was a demon. She said she did not even know what he was talking about. He was trying to find out information, so he said those things. Making a heart shape in the soup, he revealed to Ione that he wanted to chase her. She asked if that was a love confession. It seemed strange to confess love to a girl he just met, but he admitted that was exactly it. Soon after, he held her hands. He started using every possible way to declare love to win the girl over. He said he fell in love with her at first sight. Besides, she was very mysterious. He could not stop thinking about her for a single second. He was very dishonest and said that if the house refused to keep him, he would give up on life. Standing on the table, he said the two were made for each other. He said they were destined to be together. Without this weird pose from our hero, he ended up leaning on the girl. Because of that, the sleeve of his clothes broke. The others went over to see what was happening. They noticed a very embarrassing scene. From here, the story will get very shameful to narrate. So please leave a like and a comment to make it worth it. Chunling got mad because the fiancé was shameless. He was already preparing a fire magic. He asked the bride to calm down because everything was going according to plan. People outside said Chun was a very romantic guy. Meanwhile, he tried to make the girl eat. He imagined that if she tried his food, she would fall in love with him. She absolutely refused. Without him noticing, a red liquid started coming out of her mouth. He did not understand what was happening and why she seemed to be hurt. At that moment, we see the mischievous demon had pierced the girl. She said some demons were not doing their job well, so she would finish one as an example to the others. Chun grabbed the horn and tried to remove it from the girl. However, the strike hit a fatal area. Quickly, he threw the horn back at the mischievous demon. The strike was so powerful, it pierced her. The little demon did not know the boy was so strong. Without time to react, he grabbed her by the neck. Then, he did what he knew best, which was finishing the girl. She did not expect it, of course. Thus, he managed to read all her memories. The girl tried to make him let go, calling him a shameless little dragon. The mischievous demon had done something very wrong. She attacked one of the 4 demon leaders. She asked how the boy knew that. She even questioned if her servants had told him. Then, they started arguing to find out who told this information. She was one of the great 4 demon leaders. Actually, she should not have been like that because it would be betrayal. Half an hour before the contest, she received the assignment to participate and be the champion, so that no other race would discover the demon's secret. Now, having received a fatal blow, she started saying her life was satisfying because she served her masters very well. The mischievous one fixed her horns and said it was useless to tell important information to those 2 trash because they would die quickly. However, the hero used his healing spell. She was as good as new. The wounds were completely healed. The mischievous demon did not understand how he had such a strong power. He said that as long as he was with the girl, they would not lose. And look where he put his hand. The mischievous one realized that the curse she cast on Chun would not work. Then, she snapped her fingers, asking for help. The other demon servants appeared to finish off the boy. He was not strong enough to fight so many enemies. He said it was better to run away. But at that moment, his servants appeared to save the day. The mischievous one asked why those 3 low-level maids were helping the boy. The blonde replied that they were doing the right thing. They started to take off the servants' clothes and throw them to the hero so he could recover SP. They said that the clothes of high-level servants had more spiritual energy, so it was good for him to recover magic. As soon as he touched the items, he recovered 200 points. He realized that would be useful to use wind spells. While doing that, he started to take off the clothes. No shamelessness here from our hero. The protagonist is so shameless it will be hard to narrate from now on. It will be very embarrassing. Read it. He is capable of anything. Seriously. Literally everything. The girl asked, "What was that noise of women screaming?" The mischievous one asked if those 3 maids were helping Chun rebel. They said yes. It was common for low-level servants to feel empathy for young masters. She said it was to be expected that he would rebel. The blonde said the mischievous one was not seeing the situation clearly. She said that demons of the earth, sky, and the demon king controlled the world, that everyone there was a slave, including them. If Chun managed to end this evil cycle and system, what would become of the servants without him? In other words, it was better to be on the winning team. We see a flashback when the mischievous one received a mission to take care of a new young master. The blonde servant was a beginner. She was excited because the mischievous one had become a master-level servant. The girl said the blonde was clingy and told her to get away. Since the 3 were low-level, they would have to help a lazy young master together. The mischievous one cut off the blonde, saying not to share unnecessary information. She was not interested in knowing about that. After being recruited to work for the demons, they left their old personalities behind. They should act professionally. The blonde said she was part of the Duniko's clan. She asked which clan the mischievous one was from. She said she was an Oni. She was the last surviving Oni. After the demons, actually aliens, defeated many clans. After invading Earth and proclaiming themselves demons, they outnumbered the clans. But now that she was recruited to work as a demon servant, she said she would save money and then retire to live a satisfying life. Returning as a gift, the mischievous one said those 3 girls should not think that a regime change would be good for them. It was better to leave things as they were, because it would be safer for everyone. At that moment, the little fox appeared, worried about Chun. She asked what happened to her love. She was worried because of the screams. The mischievous one told her to look for herself, and pushed the door so she could enter. As soon as the little fox looked inside, she realized our protagonist was doing something very wrong. No one knows how this girl still hasn't given up on our protagonist. The gamer girl stayed in the back, saying Chun was doing it again. With the 5th girl in a row, he saw his fiancée was there, and the boy was holding a skirt. The blonde told the girls not to look at him with that embarrassed face, but they replied the only shameless one there was Chun. The girl explained that he needed to put on those female clothes to check if everything was alright and if there was no poison in them. The Roblox girl asked if he was only doing that for their safety. He answered that was exactly it. It was a joke, but he did not understand. The girl said he was a little silly. He entered her story saying it was all just to protect them. Bai said he was a dragon in this world, but it was better to pretend he was serious, just to avoid confusion. Then they teased him, asking if he was really going to wear those female clothes. He said yes and asked if there was a problem. Bai already said he had done too many strange things. If he ever reached that point, she would no longer be friends with him. She thought he really wanted to marry her, since he had kissed the girl, and said that if he wore women's clothes, she would no longer want to marry him. He asked if the fiancé was afraid that he would become cuter than her, but Bai said he was crazy and didn't care about those kinds of things. Then he started to bet with her. He said if he wore female clothes and looked better, he would prove he was better. The maid started to throw more wood into the fire, telling him to quickly put on the clothes. You already know where this story is going. I said it would be very difficult right from the start here. Bai thought he was eccentric. When she was near him, fun was guaranteed. He said he also needed to change clothes, because the oriental clothes didn't look good on her. Without letting the girl answer, he picked her up, carrying her to the dressing room. Turning to Chun-Li, Bai asked if he would let her egg do that kind of thing, but the girl was already used to it. Giving up arguing, she accepted. She said it would be interesting to see Chun dressed as a woman. The 3rd round of the game was about to start, but the hero, who was in the contest final, didn't go to the arena. On the contrary, he was in the men's bathroom. Someone said it was better for her to leave there, but Chun said if any man came in, he would say she was a man. Then he asked to have his curse removed. That way it would be easier to continue the battle against the demons. The girl wanted to know why he was helping her, if it was only because of the curse she put on him. He said he liked her, and that there were other people infiltrated. In the demon world, they needed to find them all. He started changing clothes, and she turned away not to see anything. Meanwhile, he said he needed to catch the thieves first, then the leaders, and, finally, the bosses. She replied that the curse could not be broken like that. It would only be undone by their death. He was really changing clothes in the back. Said it was a shame the curse could not be removed. Said that since the curse would stay with them until death, he wanted to protect her for the rest of her life, and it would be like a marriage proposal. She asked if that was what he meant, and said that in her family there were high beauty standards for marriage. The husband had to be extremely handsome. When she looked at him, he was really wearing women's clothes. They used to say beauty was in the bones, not the skin. Manners, talents, character, everything shows in every word and action. Although he was not a woman, he showed he had great natural beauty. Even Ion was amazed, saying Chun was very handsome. Ion's country was known for unmatched appearance and elegance. That's why what they appreciated most was beauty. The girl felt embarrassed, thinking Chun was cuter than her. That made her feel ashamed, since he was a man. In response, Chun said he was not cuter than her anymore. It was just that she was wearing the wrong clothes. Then he held a school uniform and said she should wear that. That way everything would look better. Reluctantly, she said she would not wear that kind of clothes, because it looked too childish, but it was a cultural outfit from her country. She said Chun, and even said she would help him change. After a few seconds, she had blushing cheeks, saying the boy was shameless. He said she looked much cuter. That was exactly the kind of clothes that suited her. Still very embarrassed, the girl said it made her look like a simple, ordinary student. She commented that the clothes looked better on her. He said looking like an ordinary student was very good. Revealed she wouldn't need to work for the demons anymore, and from now on he would protect her forever. Actually, those demon maids were not real demons. They were from other races, but were hired to work for those alien demons. She worked all these years for those creatures afraid of punishment. But from now on, she wouldn't need to be their slave anymore. Chun himself promised he would protect her. That made the girl's cheeks blush with shame. Then she accepted, saying she would do her best to work with him. She couldn't cancel the hostility curse, but managed to reverse the effects. From now on, he would gain energy points as he received insults, and would no longer take damage. The confectioner got excited because that was exactly what he needed. Chun asked more about the demons. The girl said that Saint actually belonged to the earth demons. Above her were the sky demons. And, finally, the demon kings. To fight those creatures, he needed a lot of energy, and asked the girl to start insulting him. She wasn't good at insulting people, said she didn't like it. But after some tips, she started cursing him. As soon as she started swearing, he gained 1,666 points. He realized this magic of gaining points from insults was the same essence as poison magic. With that, he recharged his wood element. She apologized, saying she didn't want to offend him, but that was exactly what he needed. As she insulted him, he gained more points. She asked if he only said that to make her comfortable, and if he wanted her to insult him even more. Chun replied, it worked. Then, hugging the girl, he begged her to keep insulting him. Very close to her face, he said that as she insulted him, he would gain points. He could get new skills and could teach her. Looking into Chun's eyes, she realized he wasn't lying. He was 100% honest. She said he was purer than Saraguela leaves. Outside the dressing room, the girl talked to Bai, saying those two were taking too long in there. Moments later, he appeared carrying the girl in his arms. The fox sniffed her to check if they had done anything wrong. If you know what I mean. He explained that she was exhausted, because she insulted him with every name possible. That was enough to recharge his power. So basically, she wasn't hurt. She was just tired. He handed the girl to the fox, and asked her to take care of her for a moment. The girl asked if she could throw that bitch on the floor. He said she could, but not to hurt her, because if she died, he would die too. She asked if he was trusting her life in his hands. He answered, that was exactly it. To help, he put some protective effects, touched the girl's shoulders, and began to use support magic to protect them. But all kinds of protection. Protection of earth, water, fire, and air. The fox said she was feeling super powerful, and got worried because he was doing all that. She asked him to promise to come back and not abandon them. He said he put the magic only to make sure they wouldn't get hurt. Promised he would come back safely. Almost crying, the girl said she didn't want to pick up his corpse again. At that moment, he felt a strange energy. He had never felt that energy before. Something he had never seen, even in another life. I think this is love, guys. He asked why she cared so much about him. She answered that she liked the boy a lot. Thought about him every second of her life. Then he promised to win the championship and defeat all the demons. If all demons were defeated, they could live happily again, each one doing whatever they wanted. He promised that when he saved humanity, he would regain his power and return to that powerful appearance again. He didn't like the childlike look. Besides, he would have wealth and fame. to provide a satisfying life for the girl. But Chunling grabbed a stick and hit the hero's head, using the girl as a weapon. She didn't care about looks or wealth. She liked Chun just the way he was. He scratched his head, saying he understood everything. The girl smiled and told him to go quickly. Before leaving, he asked her to promise not to use her as a weapon again, because she could get hurt. She promised. The Roblox girl also reached the finals. She worked hard to be lazy, to join the contest and find her brother again. They promised to meet after winning the contest. He was also lazy and one of the best, had a high level. But since he won many contests, he became famous. After winning the Great Idol Championship and even the Demon Temple, he was never seen again. She wondered what happened to her brother, because she hadn't heard from him in a year. Everything was strange since they were very close. Probably something happened to him. So she started investigating in every way to find out what happened to her brother. Besides being a gamer, she was a hacker, started hacking systems to find information. With that, she discovered that the idol system story was a lie. It had nothing to do with getting super powerful just by resting. This system that made people get strong just by using their phone or doing nothing was an excuse to keep them weak. So they didn't learn cultivation. Besides, it made kids spoiled and dumb, just like in our world today. But she was very good at being lazy. She was human, and humans were the laziest race. That's why she started to stand out. Since she was very young, she had level 18. No one could match her level of laziness. She could control everything lying down, playing on her phone, only watched short videos. Now, her only obstacle to winning the contest was that dragon boy. The hero appeared in the contest lobby, wearing that girl's outfit, asked where the other judge was. People said she got sick and left. The fox said it would be bad for the contest's reputation, letting a level 4 idol win against a level 18 lazy person. Even asked the boy to give up the contest and admit he lost, but he needed to win to save Shalhinde, because he made a serious contract with the saint. Asked Mr. Fox if he should really lose, if that was what he wanted, because if the hero lost, he and his daughter would be eliminated. We saw that this man received messages from the demons. He liked his daughter a lot, but he had to make her lazy. Otherwise, he would be punished too. She cried because he tore her magic book. He threw a pillow at her face. Very angry, he said she should stop crying and become a high-level lazy person, just lying down and using her phone. That was not what the girl wanted, but she ended up agreeing with her father. He said it was sad to see his daughter suffer. What he wanted most was for her to be happy. Every night he wondered if it was worth it. While sleeping, she apologized to her father and promised to be a good child. That moved her father. He knew everything he did was to protect her. He seemed like a villain, but everything was to protect his dear daughter. Back to the present, he said he didn't care what Chun did. He had to win the contest and take his daughter far away to keep her safe. The Roblox girl thought that if she won the tournament, she could finally find her brother. As Chun talked with the judges, she imagined he had a trick up his sleeve. At that moment, the rabbit man appeared. He asked the girl to give up the championship. He found out she only wanted to win to see her brother again. Getting close to her ear, he said she could give up because her brother was dead. This happened because everyone who won the tournament and went to the temple in the sky became demon food. That made the girl start to cry. She didn't want to believe it. She said it was a tactic from the dragon to make her give up, and that way he would be the champion. But logically, it made sense that her brother had died, because it had been a year since they last met or got messages. She also said that all the champions of lazy contests were taken to become monster food. This had been happening for years. She had already thought about all these possibilities. The hero told her to stop dreaming that he was still alive. This shook the girl's mind, because she loved her brother very much and didn't want to lose him. Ming knocked on the door, said the championship was about to restart and they should get ready. At that moment, the saint appeared holding someone else's hand. The hero invited her to defeat the demons. He said that with her help, they could destroy the alien system. She had already thought about all these possibilities. It seemed he was right, but the girl didn't want to believe her brother was dead. At that moment, the saint said the games would start and brought a visitor for her. Someone appeared, surprising the girl. The saint said he was the last champion of the lazy contest. It was Dino, the older brother who won the contest last year. He was smiling and said he came to keep his promise to go to the temple together. Then there was a flashback of what happened when he arrived at the temple in the sky. He saw many corpses, but smiled and told the demons he had expected that. He wasn't surprised. The sky demon called Kong was surprised, asked why he wasn't crying. The boy made a joke, asked if crying would set him free. The demon knew he was 1,000 years old and had been hibernating in a machine all this time. That was what had happened. He confessed he worked hard in another life, 1,000 years ago. During the work, the alien invasion happened. The demon was disappointed. She liked seeing people begging for help when he arrived at the temple in the sky. But the boy was discouraged. Almost everyone he knew had lost their lives, but his sister was still alive. She shouted for him to run and enter the hibernation cabin, and that's exactly what they did. When they woke up, about 1,000 years later, the world had changed drastically. They opened the capsule, and there was the hero, along with Sermons. Who was there to welcome them was the saint. She said this was now the world of the lazy. She explained that she linked them to the lazy system so they could level up. Since he no longer wanted to work because he was lazy, this system was wonderful for him. If he was eliminated now, his whole life would have been worth it. The demon Kangwei said he had a very different vision from other people. Since he was the boy with 3 visions, he should work for the demons. The Sky Demon Bai and the Sky Demon Jim agreed and said he should stay with them. The last thing he wanted was to work. Now, he became a demon employee. According to the prophecies, a rebellion would happen in next year's contest, which is the current present. That's why this boy would be needed to help solve the problem and save the alien system. He had returned 1 year later to talk to his little sister. He told her that the dragon boy was a threat. Besides disrespecting the gods, he disbelieved everything. Patting her head, he told her to keep doing her best. Said she would become the champion. At that moment, the protagonist took a sheet and tried to cover them. The boy reached out and asked what the dragon boy was doing. The hero climbed on top of them and touched the boy's finger. He did this to read his memories. He was drinking a red juice. He thought the boy was a demon, but he was just an ordinary human. He gave him a tap on the face and said that crazy guy was a traitor. He had agreed to help the demons. The girl asked him not to attack her dear little brother. At that moment, the saint appeared. She said she caught the hero attacking someone else. Because of that, he would be eliminated from the contest. For this reason, that year's champion would be the girl. Chun asked the saint how much it cost them to make the 2 cultivators. She pretended not to understand, said it didn't cost anything. But he couldn't be eliminated from the contest. So he told the saint he would hold the 2 as hostages if he didn't win. This news started to spread around the city. Everyone wanted to know what was happening at the top of the tower. Chun was holding 2 people hostage. He did this because if he lost the idol championship, he would be eliminated along with the girl. That was the agreement with the saint. Then the girl woke up and asked what was happening. Chunling explained everything to her. The saint said that was against the rules. She couldn't just give him the championship. However, the hero said that if he didn't do that, he would be eliminated along with the fox. The woman mocked him, saying he kissed many girls, but he was still in love with that boring girl. Snapping her fingers, she made a big demon appear. He took the 2 girls hostage. The aliens also had tricks up their sleeves. They said the hero should release the hostages. The 2 were in danger. People started saying that one of them was a traitor, because she was on Chun's side. The demon said that girl's loyalty was worth nothing, so he was going to devour her. The monster started attacking the girl. She felt a terrible fear. It was that monster's clan that wiped out her entire family. She said she would never forget that. The girl held the other's leg with her tail. She promised the hero she wouldn't make her friend a weapon, but she would have to break that promise. She would make her a weapon to defeat the demon. Looking out the window, the saint said the dragon boy would lose this fight. Confidently, he said he had already thought of everything. That's why he was 1 step ahead. He snorted at the girls. There was the girl, using her friend as a weapon. She headbutted the monster's body. The creature was surprised. It had just devoured many people and should be stronger. But the hit was so powerful, it turned back into a kitten. At this stage, it wouldn't be able to fight anyone. Chunling stepped on its tail, told the kitten not to run away. Holding it in his arms, he asked which demon would still come at him. Said he would finish them all. He had seen many weapons, but never a human weapon. This story will get better. For those who like strange works with comedy and romance, comment for us. If there are many comments, I will bring the continuation of this story. It's hard to bring big videos for you, so consider leaving your like, comment, and subscribing if you're not subscribed yet. We are reaching 5,000 subscribers, and I count on everyone's help. I'll leave in the recommendation a video I'm sure you will like. See you there? That's it. Thanks. See you later, everyone.